Hey everyone, welcome back to Google Workspace Recap, your number one source for everything workspace by the tabGeeks Network. My name is Jesse Nolan, my co-host is Steve Larson, and we're here to help you keep up. Welcome to episode 50, the Big 5-0. This episode was not written by ChatGPT, I promise. We are coming up on the end of the year. Hope things are calming down around the office for everyone. Of course, I took off most of October for the Jewish holidays, so this is my catch-up time, and I won't be taking any extra time off, although I am hoping to have some extra time for tabGeeks production over the holidays so that I can catch up on all of the videos that I owe everybody. On that note, Steve, how's it going?
Yeah, that's actually an interesting comment there. I mean, that's all I'm seeing in the news these days. Everyone's talking about it, ChatGPT, right? And what it can do and how it works. That would be a really interesting episode if we could do something and integrate that and say, you know, tell us about all the Google Workspace updates that came out last week, and let's see what it says. And then let's do that for next week, maybe. That'd be interesting. That's what I had last week. See what comes out of it.
Last week I had give me a Google Workspace press release, and it was pretty crazy. Over on the Vergecast, they actually had it write their intro, which is where I was giving a nod to them, referencing that. Yeah. Okay. And they were like, figure out what parts of the show were written by ChatGPT. GPT, and which ones were not, and it's crazy. I mean, when you're talking about things that are incredibly well known and written about extensively on the internet and popular, but if I put in there, like, I don't know, give me a speech written in the style of YouTuber Jesse Nolan, it's going to go, who the f*** is that, right? Yeah. I mean, MKBHD, sure, it's got 8 million hours or 8 million videos, God knows how many hours of him to pull off of, and articles written about him, and who knows where their data set comes from, but it's likely not going to do as well when it tries on little old me.
Was I talking to you about this, or maybe I was talking to someone else? I think someone commenting about how the thought of it replacing like a Google search or something like that. But the problem with it is, I guess, is that you have no point of reference in terms of where the information is coming from. So there's no links out to where it came from, and how you can validate, I guess, the response. So I think that's one of the things it lacks currently.
Well, I've seen a lot of coverage and people saying exactly that, is, watch out, Google. Google's dead, replacing Google. Like, this is there are kids that are writing term papers in school on this stuff. I read a whole article and, of course, sent it to my nephew who's in high school so that he could test it. I mean, know what not to do for his teachers. And, it was incredibly accurate. It was giving them decent answers until you got really into it, and you're like, okay, but that's not actually right, or okay, that started out right and now it's completely wrong. And the fact of the matter is that Google has one of these. I saw a bunch of things on this, is that Google actually has their own version of this, but they are reportedly a little bit chicken to release it, and understandably so, because you remember the Microsoft chatbot that they released out into the world that you could chat with their AI agent or whatever it was? Maybe. Within 48 hours, it was all Nazis and the Holocaust and bad things against children on the internet, and it was not kosher. It was very, very not okay, and I think that Google has kind of been towing the line, getting closer and closer to releasing something like this, but I think that they're kind of waiting, almost taking the Apple approach here, waiting to see what everyone else is going to do, wait for the fallout, and then behind the scenes tweak theirs. And I actually saw another article that said that the creators of ChatGPT, which is OpenAI, specifically seem to program it to avoid some live wire topics, some third rail topics, such as highly charged political situations and such. So even they are taking the smart approach there and saying, okay, well, we're going to give this stuff out there, and yes, it's a learning algorithm, but we really don't want to go into some of certain areas that are really not okay for public image. So, but what I am hearing is that Google has something. It is integrated into search. It is a potential future variant, if you will, down the road, where you could basically have the conversation. And you're already doing this with your Google Home, where you can follow up with a question, which is one of the big things we were like, wow, you can just continue your conversation with ChatGPT. Well, you can do that with Google Home. And if Google just, did that in text, or if they just gave more brains to the Google Assistant, which I've been begging them to do for years, they'd actually have a really incredible leap forward product here.
Yeah, another component to all of this was the code complete functionality in some of this, in this case. And I think the data that it was built off of, though, was all that GitHub data. And I believe that there's a lot of licenses that were maybe, not adhered to in terms of, leveraging it and then reusing it. And, that's how
what data was it trained on?
Right. And well, if you use that code to then produce something else, you have to reference it and, refer to it and cite the author kind of thing. And that's not, of course, being done. So yeah, I think there could be some implications for that potentially. If that is
I'd be curious if somebody ran it through, like in school, we had to submit our things to plagiarism engines or whatever, right? So if five kids write an essay on a similar topic, is it going to flag everybody else from that point forward who writes using this tool?
Oh, well, right. That, I mean, that's a whole different, I guess, part of it, right? It's, that's now being used to complete, original art or original works, essentially, right? And what is that going to look like? But I think it can be a good tool to, like you said, maybe start to get the majority of something created. Then you got to go and review it and tweak it and adjust it and probably validate it.
I could see this as a next generation template.
I've not used it yet. Have you used it, right?
Yeah, I've used it on 2 different accounts and just playing around with it. And it's fun just to poke around with it. And like I said last week, and I'll quote here: Google Workspace is a suite of cloud-based productivity and collaboration tools that was previously known as G Suite. Like, that's written by the bot. Like, okay, yeah, sure, but that is something that you would do in a structure of an article. And that the structure does start to come out over time. If you play with it enough, you'll be able to see, okay, it starts with a little history and it starts with a definition and it starts with this and then it breaks down into that and then it goes into, like, you can see kind of the format that it's following. But the coding thing really blew my mind, is the fact that people were able to get really decent code out of this. And if somebody is just looking to learn how to do how to do code, to have the bot code with you. Like, one of the things that I've always, and many other people have said about coding in terms of getting frustrated with the computer is, okay, it can put a squiggly line underneath my code and tell me that there's an error on line 49, but it won't tell me what the damn error is. Like, this could be a future, very, very basic version, but a future rendition of what a form of education could look like. Chat, or whether it's writing it for chat, or if it's a generated video, or if it's talking, audio to a student. If this is done right, it certainly could, and I won't say replace teachers, because, and I had this argument with a bunch of different people, I won't say it'll replace IT technicians, and, it could always answer the phone, hello IT, if you turn the phone off and on again, but just like we had things years ago that were replaced by computers, and then we all got really good at computers and had a whole new set of jobs for computers, so too in education and all the other areas that this is going to affect. You're going to have people that are going to learn how to properly wield and manipulate and train and code and build and teach with this. So I think it's awesome. Huge jump forward. It's far from perfect, far from done.
I can't even log in right now and use it.
Oh yeah, you got to go through the thing and make sure that you're not a what do you call it? Make sure that you're not a publication or a reporter. It's only for research purposes and yada yada.
I couldn't even log in. I couldn't even get it to load up. Really? It says too many people are using it or something right now.
Oh yeah, we've seen a bunch of those also. It's pretty popular right now.
Yeah,
it's a very, very cool tool. And like I said last week, of course, I asked it if AI will ever take over humanity, and it gave me a very creepy answer. In fact, I have to find it now. I saw somebody told it to write an essay. Now I'm trying to remember the prompt. Write a short story about an AI that was told not to write like it was an AI or something like that. And it basically devolved into, and then this AI rose up and fought back, like Terminator level stuff. You're like, stop, pull the plug.
Interesting.
So fun tech, but yikes! Skynet has arisen.
Yeah, I'd be interested to see what it can do with like a workspace recap post and intros, and I think it'd be a little bit too niche for that.
Yeah.
But we'll see. I don't know.
We'll
play around with it once I can get it loaded.
There you go. Do some research next week.
Yeah.
Next week should be a relatively quiet show, methinks, given that they had a couple of quiet weeks, and then this week is a full episode.
That's good. Well, yeah, I mean, a lot of changes. Some changes that we saw rolling out in terms of the, survey that came out a little while ago, asking us what we wanted to see in the, end of week recap post. There's some
fast turnaround
things some things that they asked us about, and would you like to have this in the recap post in terms of which products have completed feature rollouts, and that's been added this week to the end of the recap post. So nice to see that implemented. I didn't even count the number of items there, but there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. 15 rapid and scheduled release domain features completed rollout to just for rapid release domains. So that's what we see there in that recap post. So if you want to learn more about which ones have finished their rollout, there's some details in there, and there's links to all of the announcements of when it came out for more details. So that's kind of cool to see that so quickly. And then this week we did see quite a few. I think this is probably the most silent releases we've seen, I think, in a week. It's 5 this week. Yeah, I don't know if we've ever had more than 5 in a recap post there. And then we also saw 5 additional updates that came out during the week, and those, I think. No, so sorry, I have one here that is the recap post. I got to remove that. So 4, we saw 4 announcements, but one is kind of a future focused announcement. So something that will be happening in 2023, but talking about it now. So
2023 is around the corner.
It is very, very close. Weeks away. And then we saw another update on the Drive for Desktop product, just some minor bug fixes there with version 68, and yeah, that kind of rounds out those topics. I'll give the quick.
I was gonna say you didn't
summary.
Say
I know, I didn't say them. No, I just gave the numbers. Just give the numbers here, and we'll get back to the usual structure here. So
for the baseball statisticians in the audience there that are keeping track.
Yes. So the first silent release that we saw was that collaborators. You can now see collaborator avatars in the toolbar of apps on Android devices. You can next to it, you can pin table headers when using pageless format on Google Docs. You can easily share files in Google Meet, chat on the web. There's now warning banners for external email recipients on iOS devices. Another reason why you should not be allowing third-party email clients. I bring this up all the time in discussions with people in Workspace. Do not allow third-party email clients. You're missing out on a lot of security features and functionality. Next is that there's some more improvements for using Miro in Google Meet. And that wraps up those silent releases that we saw and the end-of-week recap post. In terms of the published releases, the first one there we see is that there's now more ways to prevent data exfiltration on iOS devices. There's some new default settings for content managers to modify shared drives, and that's the one that's coming later in February 2023, a little bit in a few months. You can now create drop-down chips in Google Sheets. And then finally, a feature that I thought was always around and in there. Honestly, I'm sure that this feature has always been there in Slides, but you can now collaborate with colleagues in Google Slides through a new follow feature. And I could swear that I was always able to click on someone's icon and that'd go to the slide that they were on, just like I can do in a Google Doc or in Sheets. I'm pretty sure I could swear that this feature has always been around. Let us know, please.
I think this is more continuous.
Oh, that you Like you click follow and you see as like they follow as they move, not just, oh, you go to where they're at.
Yeah.
Okay, then. Got it.
Continue to move with them
continuous
as they navigate.
movement following them.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting.
More on that.
Yeah, more on that as we read more into it. And then yes, version 68 with Drive for desktop is out, and then we have a decent number of items here in other news. There was an email that went out to those with the developer preview program that third-party link previews are now available in the developer preview. So we have some info on that. If you didn't see that, catch that. And then in other news, you can now go to password free in Chrome with passkey. So that is an interesting announcement there. I was intrigued about all this talk about, I don't know, passwordless use, but could be interesting. Google's latest Chrome browser modes can boost battery life and free up memory. That is an article there from The Verge. So the first two articles there are from The Verge. I love The Verge. This is a Verge-focused episode here. The third one also coming from them. Google's bringing together its Waze and Maps teams as it pushes to reduce overlap. And I think I think it came in my morning news feed with TechCrunch or something. And everyone's like, well, wait, hasn't this always... haven't they already been doing this already?
Right.
I think it's been slow. This has been one of the slowest acquisition integrations that I've ever seen from Google.
It wasn't though. They were promised to be a standalone company. They have 500 of their own employees.
Okay, but if that was what the initial promise was, fine. But I think why keep it separate? I don't.
Dumb.
Okay.
I agree with you 100%. This should have been done years ago. But we'll get more into that later.
Yeah. Well, I've slowly started to see more and more functionality in my Google Maps that I was seeing in Waze. Things like, reporting slowdowns, reporting speed traps, those kind of things were not in Maps before. And those are, of course, a lot of the functionality that's always been around in the Waze app. And I think there's, of course, because Waze was also doing ride sharing in there, wasn't it, at one point?
Yeah, they did that.
Right, and like that, I don't like.
Something.
Yeah, the carpooling and ride sharing. I don't. I mean, that'd be kind of a little bit unusual for Maps, but Maps does have such a huge audience, right?
Yeah.
User base that
it was cute, but I feel like ride sharing at that time in the US was not there yet. I think that was more came out of the Israeli team that was Waze, that in Israel we still hitchhike, and in Europe there's still plenty going on, as opposed to in the US it took a lot longer to get out. Even still, people don't like to Uber carpool or whatever. So
there's only certain cities that kind of is popular in, right?
And
then finally, the last article here from 9 to 5 is that there's a Gmail bug delayed email delivery on Saturday, and it resulted in a bit of a backlog of messages there.
It's weird.
So that's our headlines for this week. And let's jump into those silent releases that we talked about there. The first one being that you can now see those collaborator avatars in the toolbar of apps on Android devices. This is pretty useful. I mean, I know that I work from more than just my laptop pretty frequently, and now you can start to more easily see those other people that are collaborating on the documents there with you when you're on those Android tablets and mobile devices. So kind of get some better visualization cues that there are other people there in the dock with you and where they're at.
Part of the problem I've had with mobile apps in general from Google is they're just so pared down and limited. Like they suck. I don't want to use them.
I mean, they are, yes. I think there's, good reason for some of those.
They're great when you're on the go for making
I guess.
Quick edit, but for really doing actual work on it, I'm grabbing my Chromebook.
Yeah, I think.
And I have an Android tablet and an iPad.
Yeah, I don't know if I necessarily want to be editing pivot tables on my phone. Really,
fine, pivot tables, but it's I don't know. Even with a touch interface, which they're focused on, I find myself triple tapping and trying to get things to do what I want to do, and it's just not. Maybe it's just on iOS. Maybe I should try the Android tablet again. It's been a while.
Just try Android in general for everything.
It's true. It's been a while since I've used Android in general. I had a theory about this one though.
Yeah.
Well, they've been pushing hard since I/O for the Google Workspace experience on large screen Android devices. And we all went,
talked about a lot of those updates.
Tablet, of course. But have you seen the latest renders of the foldable Pixel phone?
No, I have not.
Is a large screen Android device, perhaps?
Oh, look at that.
So I think that, that was more of a strategic, hey, this is coming, we better get our shit ready because forget about tablets, phones are about to be all large screen Android devices. So let's make this really awesome for that experience. So that's my hypothesis. I don't know anything. It's just a thought, but there it is. Hot take.
Could be some truth to that, I would say.
Yeah.
I'm making my own beverage here. I'm actually just blending two little whiskeys together.
So Steve passes out in the chair.
No. This is
take
like
a
the
quick
first
break.
one here. This is the first one.
No, I meant from mixing.
That's kind of. Oh, just kind of after you have
jokes.
tried all of them, I'd like to make new ones with what you got. It's nice. The next one here we have is that you can now pin table headers when using pageless format on Google Docs. So this is when you have this new pageless format, which I'm converting the majority of my documents into. In fact, most of the things that I use, pages don't matter. So I'm finding myself creating a lot of pageless docs and converting existing ones into this format.
Still annoying that it's locked to 8.5 by 11.
Yes, that is exactly what I was going to get to next. Is that even though even though it is this concept idea of pageless format, there is still this width structure that you're constrained within, and not that I want to have the widest page that's fits my 43-inch monitor or whatever, which that'd be great, but
I've tried
I'd like it to be a little bit wider than the 8.5 by 11 style or A4 style that you're used to. You can't even adjust it, I don't believe, right? It's not really possible.
You can a little bit, margins, this, that, and the other thing, but still I get it. I get the having that as the default, but give us the option, man.
Well, sure.
Let us say, hey, let me use every inch of available space. Now I go full screen and it's holy white space, Batman. It's blinding.
Yeah.
I can only use an itty bitty bit of it.
Yeah, I don't know if it would be good to do necessarily a percentage, because that you still want to have some sort of understanding of the visual structure of what the document's going to look like to others, right? So
maybe.
I think being able to set the width and defining it would be good. I don't know if percentage kind of would be good to adjust to whatever your screen is, because again, there's so many different screen sizes now. I think a fixed dimension is good, but we still you can't even do that, really.
Yeah, but think about design software. Design software, you make the canvas the size you want, you zoom all the way out, you see what it looks like, and you zoom into where you want to go. I could be working on a billboard on my 43-inch monitor, make it full size, it looks great. Somebody opens it up on a laptop and they see a postage stamp size of it. They're not going to be able to see anything, but then they zoom into the part that they need and they're in business,
Yeah. Well,
give us the option. That's all I'm asking.
Yeah. Well, this new feature here is going to allow you to pin the header row then on these tables here. You scroll vertically so that you'll still be able to see that table header as you scroll down further. Again, yet another reason why I love having my 43-inch screen, because I get so much vertical real estate compared to any others. It's great. Love it. Love it.
Yeah, for somebody who is reading long documents, I will give you that. But I also have a 27-inch here that I can just...
I was going to say, I don't have to flip screens around or anything like that. It just, I just snap it to the right side and full screen and, last third, which for anyone that is on a Mac, I highly recommend the Rectangle application. It is a free,
really? What is this?
No cost tool. And yeah, it's called Rectangle. It is, it allows you to use keyboard shortcuts to move your windows around the screen. So my most common ones are, the upper quadrants, center, and then, right, center, and left thirds. So I'm always using the control option and then some letter on the keyboard, typically like my U, I, J, and K, those are the quadrants. And then my first, center, and last third is the DFG keys, and that's kind of what I use a lot. And then M is I think the one that I mapped for. That's like almost maximize, where it does like a 90% window right in the middle over everything. So that's what I use the most. And then you can customize it.
Also does snapping.
Mm-hmm.
You can snap to with drag and drop. It's not just
Oh,
keyboards.
really? I have not used it that way. So you use it? You've had it?
No, I just looked it up when you mentioned it.
Okay. Yeah, that's great. Love it. Thank you, Ryan Hansen, who's the creator of it. Let's see. So we're talking about that pageless functionality there with the tables. Great. You can pin that now. Next one is that you can easily share files in Google Meet chat on the web. So when you share a link in Google Drive to a Google Drive file in Meet chat, you have to ensure the document is shared with those on the call, either proactively or reactively. So starting this week, and this was last week now, when you're sharing a file in Meet chat, you will now be prompted to update the file sharing permissions to reflect which meeting attendees you'd like to have access to a particular file, all within Meet. So yeah, this one is another one of those that got, thrown in the silent releases that has some rollout pace and timings and things like that into it. I feel like these are features that probably should get a full article, but alas, it is not. Rollout for this one is going to be rapid release and scheduled release domains beginning on the 5th of December on an extended rollout pace, which is potentially longer than 15 days for feature visibility there. All right, so let's talk about the warning banners for external email recipients on iOS devices. This is something that, reiterates what I've been talking about for ages in terms of not allowing third-party email clients. I've put a presentation together many, many years ago about, why the Outlook clients and the Macmail clients are going to allow viruses to be downloaded, warnings of, potential, phishing attempts to be, users to click through those because they're not seeing these warnings of the safety settings. This is, just again, a reminder that if you're on Google, if you're on, Gmail, use the Gmail apps. This is why they're there. This is what you're, buying. This is, the platform that you're on. Use the tools that come along with the back end product. Just like, hey, if you're on Outlook and Exchange, or if you're on Exchange, use Outlook, right? Even though, of course, when I was on Exchange, I would use Gmail, but that's a different story. I would pull in my, my Exchange mail into my Gmail account that I created for work and pull it in through IMAP, and luckily they still had IMAP enabled. But this is the warning banners for external email recipients on iOS devices. So just like we've been seeing those safety setting warnings for messages that are are coming into your user's inbox. This is a warning when a user is composing a message and they are going to be sending this message out to someone, and it is going to be an external recipient, and perhaps they typed in the wrong Steve, and they typed in the Steve that is the personal email of Steve, which happens so often, especially when we do onboarding of new hires. People just have the personal email address saved in their contacts, and a week later they're emailing corporate documents to the personal account of that new hire in some cases. So this will help minimize that and allow your users to see that they are indeed emailing an external recipient, and this will show up on those iOS devices. Rollout for this one is going to be beginning the 9th of December on an extended rollout pace, potentially longer than 15 days, for both rapid release and scheduled release domains. And then next and finally here in silent releases, there are going to be improvements for those using Miro in Google Meet. So the two enhancements coming for the Miro experience within Google Meet. First one is that meeting participants will see a dialog invite instead of a chat message asking them to join a whiteboarding session. And the next is that the meeting hosts now have the option to end collaboration for the group as a whole. You can alternatively, meeting participants will have the ability to leave the session individually. And this is just some improvements that will help create a smoother collaboration experience when using Miro within Google Meet. All right, jumping into those 4 updates that we did have throughout the week. The first one is the ability to prevent more ways to prevent data exfiltration on iOS devices. This is something that we talked about a while ago, actually, back in 2020. I don't know if we were talking about it at that point, because that was, I believe, before the podcast that we had. But back on the 27th of April in 2020, there was some new data exfiltration protections in G Suite at the time on iOS devices, and this is an extension from that. So the ability for admins to turn on the following actions on or off in Workspace will include things like copying Workspace files and data to personal apps, sharing Workspace data to personal accounts via AirDrop and iOS share sheet, AirPrinting Google Workspace files, saving Workspace items to files within the iOS share sheet, saving Workspace images and videos to iOS photos, and then finally assigning items from Google Workspace to contacts within the iOS share sheet. So pretty substantial in terms of the added features and functionality here, in terms of the controls you can place on your users' endpoints. And this, of course, comes with the fact that you are running not only Enterprise Standard, Enterprise Plus as a Workspace license, but you're also leveraging Google Azure MDM platform. So that's kind of the prerequisites here for this update. So make sure that, if you are interested in this feature, that you have those advanced MDM capabilities on your tenant. And head over then to devices, mobile endpoints, and iOS settings and data sharing. The navigation into these settings and features of advanced MDM has always baffled me, and it still takes me ages to get to the right screen, no matter how many times I'm in the admin console. This is one of the places that I always struggle with. I'm like, okay, where is that setting for MDM? Was it under here, under devices? Was it under? I can never remember. It's tough to remember where the settings are at.
It's one of those hard things to search for also.
It is. That's that's another whole other thing about how great Google itself is in search, but how bad it is at search in the admin console. It's not good in the admin console, let me tell you. But once you do find those settings, the ability to implement this will be beginning the 6th of December for rapid release and scheduled release domains. And this will also be on a gradual rollout up to 15 days for visibility. And as I said earlier, it is only available to Enterprise Standard, Enterprise Plus, as well as the Enterprise for Education, and then Cloud Identity Premium customers. So limited SKUs of users that this applies to. Next is that added capability for your shared drive content managers to be able to now share folders within those shared drives, which is going to come in February 2023. The content manager role previously has not had the ability to share folders within a shared drive. You had to be a manager for that. And of course, with manager access comes a lot of other privileges and responsibilities for the most case. So now there will be a new setting. This will be a setting that you will find in the admin console. So it will be under your drive settings for sharing. So under settings for drive and docs, and then in sharing settings, and this will be under the shared drive creation section. So something that you may want to do is that you may want to disable content managers to share folders within your shared drives. Kind of depends on your situation, your use case. If you do want to turn this on, please go over there into the admin console and disable it. Otherwise, it will be turning on by default to your users. So this is something that you can disable, like I said, and keep that in mind during the rollout phase of this, because it will be coming later next year. So in the early part of next year. So if you do forget about this one, and maybe you don't have the setting yet in your admin console, hopefully Google will make an announcement again closer to that February date. So the admin controls are going to be starting on the 8th of December, and that is going to be rapid release and scheduled release domains on a gradual rollout up to 15 days for visibility. And then those end user settings, that is what's going to be coming in February 2023. So those domains will start seeing that in February 2023. Interesting how they put a gradual rollout up to 15 days for visibility when they don't provide a date in February of when that's going to start. Yeah. Okay. So could be February 1st to the 15th, or maybe the 15th through the 2nd. I don't know if it's a leap year or whatever. This one is only going to be available to certain domains. It is the list of who it's not going to be available to is shorter, so I will rattle those off. It is not going to be available to Business Starter, Frontline, Legacy, G Suite Basic customers, nor will it be available to users with personal Google accounts. And next, we have the ability to create drop-down chips in Google Sheets. So more like project management functionality here in Sheets, being able to select, to add a drop-down, and of course select the values. This is just some nice new enhanced functionality of the chips, which we're starting to see in more and more applications and more use cases. There's some modifications to the workflow for creating and managing all the data validation rules, including these drop downs and checkboxes. So have a look at this. It's definitely an improvement to your sheet functionality and how it what it looks like, and making it maybe a little bit more visual appealing to users that are building these sheets of information for projects, most likely. And rollout for this one, this will be beginning to the rapid release domains on the 8th of December on a gradual rollout up to 15 days for visibility. This will then be going to the scheduled release domains starting a little bit later in the month, just before the holidays on the 22nd of December, also on a gradual rollout up to 15 days for visibility there on those scheduled release domains. It's going to be available to all customers and the G Suite ones as well, and those with the personal Google accounts. So everyone is going to get a chance to check out that. And then
it's a nice feature.
Yeah, it is very nice. I like it. I mean,
historically, I just always did conditional formatting, and then I would do, if word is yes, turn screen or whatever, and then I would just do shortcuts for that. But this is nice to actually have a drop down as Google continues getting closer to being Asana.
Yeah.
I've actually moved off of Asana, and I'm really liking ClickUp for anybody who's interested.
Ooh, I heard of that.
Yeah. ClickUp is the latest or newest, I guess, Silicon Valley wonder kid that is basically a nice blending of Asana and Notion. Like, you get a lot of the features and markdown and /command capability that you have in Notion, and you get all of the good design, nice, solid set of features that work well that you have in Asana. But even for Asana's, like, some of the features that come free on other products, Asana charges a fortune. ClickUp is actually relatively inexpensive by comparison for small teams, and then even as you scale up into the business realm, it's still more affordable than Asana, and you get a whole hell of a lot more in terms of capabilities. So, but for basic project management, Google is getting better and better at that.
You know, a weird thing I was just checking as you were talking about that is my battery health, my Mac device, and I haven't had it that long. Was it 91% maximum capacity? I feel like that is low. I've got like a 2021 MacBook Pro.
Do you leave it plugged in constantly?
Yeah, I do. Plugged in, turned on.
I mean, that's not supposed to do anything really anymore.
I leave it on all the time, leave it plugged in all the time. I'd probably shut it down. I'm not using it. I don't know.
Actually,
91%.
what's yours at? I'm at 89. We have the same computer. MacBook Pro 14?
Yeah, 14-inch 2021. Got it right around the time it came out.
I mean, it says I got it immediately when it
I
came
got
out.
a couple weeks later.
Yeah, so I guess I was a few weeks earlier.
Yeah, mine came. I got it a couple weeks later.
Mine says battery health is normal.
Yeah,
though,
but the percentage is the
know.
number. That's the key number, 91. So we're very close.
Percentage it's starting to drop. Yeah, and I do leave mine plugged in very often, but it does also. I do also have it set to adaptive charging or optimized charging, whatever they call it. Interesting tangent.
I know. Yeah. Well, the reason why I went on the tangent though is because I don't have my laptop plugged in right now, and I was at like 90% when we started. You know, just before recording. Of course, we spent about an hour before we recorded, but I'm only at 37% right now. So that's why I was keeping an eye on it, because I'm not getting up to reach it over there. It's over there, far away. So let's wrap this up. We'll get these updates out to you.
Let's go.
We talked about the functionality here in the chips and sheets, so that I think we covered in its entirety. And then finally, this feature that I thought has been out, but as you clarified, it is the actual following as your colleague is moving in the dock.
Cool.
So this is the ability to collaborate with colleagues in Google Slides through this new follow feature. And, you know, as it says here, is a real-time feature capability. And of course, it's, as it says, it's building upon the existing feature to see what slide your colleague is on. You will now be able to click the collaborator's avatar and then continue to move with them as they navigate and make changes to the presentation. So really helpful if you are, you know, collaborating with someone, maybe in a meeting. It could be multiple people, maybe, but there's probably one main person that is the designer, the creator of the slides, and this can really help you, I guess, move along with them and start to provide feedback as you're making those amendments, or as that main person is maybe making the amendments, and getting that feedback from their colleagues in terms of what might be needed on that slide where they're at. So features like this, will be on by default. No admin controls in the admin console for this one. Yeah, I think the
why not just share your screen? If you want to watch what the person's doing, why not just have them share their screen?
I mean, you're not always in a meeting, though, necessarily. You could be, what if you're in the same room working together? you know, your, yeah,
I
like, you know,
but you wouldn't really be working together. You would just be watching them work.
well, no, I mean, let's say you're in a meeting room and you're all sitting around a table where you can't see each other's screens, but you're in the dock together, and you're brainstorming on the presentation together, and you've got that one person focused on, I don't really know. Maybe you're right. I don't know.
But then you click on them and you're watching them work.
I guess. I don't know.
I guess it's a quicker way to just see what they're working on and watch them make some changes and then go back to whatever you're doing. It's a cool feature, but I don't know. To be fair, I don't do a lot of work on slides, so I'm not the target audience here.
Same. Rollout for this one starts December 8th for rapid release and scheduled release domains on a full rollout up to 1 to 3 days for visibility. So should be out to everyone by tomorrow. This is available to everyone. Workspace, G Suite, personal. It's coming to y'all. Coming to y'all.
Props again to the team for a massive GIF.
Oh, is this another good one?
Very
nice.
Large, high quality one.
Look at that. Look at that.
Big fan.
Very nice indeed.
Well done. Well done.
CTF GA blog post GIF.
So I was going to say, capture the flag.
Yeah. Is that what that means? Yeah.
Generally, at least in, I don't know, cybersecurity circles and whatnot. CTF, catch the flag.
Yeah.
Capture the,
Collaborate.
Collaborate.
The follow.
You and I both went
Collaborate
there.
the follow. I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know, man.
Yeah. Cool. All right.
Whatever.
There's the updates.
All right. So
over to you.
Those are the main ones.
Oh, and that drive for desktop.
All right.
I think it was just minor improvements there on version 68. So not much to report on that. Yeah.
Okay.
Other news.
This is an interesting one. One that I have to do some more reading into because I have not been following the development here. But you can now, according to this, go password free in Chrome with passkeys. For those who are not familiar, which somewhat includes me, a passkey is a unique identity that is stored on your computer, phone, or other device like a USB security key. For websites or applications that have implemented the passkey API, it can let you log in through a simple and quick confirmation combined with your device's biometrics or other secure authentication. And it is now coming to Chrome, which by extension, no pun intended, is probably also coming to Edge, because everything I see these days that is coming to Chrome as a major code update also ends up over on Edge because it's basically the same code base. And I need to talk to some of my cybersecurity friends on this one. What about two-factor authentication? I know that there's ways to now hack in and, spoof your text and this, that, and the other thing, but don't you want a password and a security key like we've been doing for years? Isn't that the optimal situation here? Why do we want my computer to be I guess because there's no password, but isn't it safer if there's two versions of authentication that proves it's you?
Right.
So I don't know. Let us know in the comments below what you think.
Is this then circumventing any two-factor authentication that might be in place? Can't be.
Well, this would be instead of.
I don't know. That's what I'm wondering.
For websites and applications that have implemented the passkey API, it can let you log in through a simple and quick confirmation combined with your device's biometrics or other secure authentication. So confirmation meaning your device or you're just confirming that you're trying to log in?
I don't know.
I don't know.
Interesting.
So more homework is required here. But apparently Apple, Google, Microsoft, they're all working together. And the tech is built on the FIDO standard, the FIDO Alliance, I believe.
What the security keys are built on. So that's good. Good.
Exactly.
Nice.
Yep, that's where I was going with that. So we'll see. But as they say at the end here, it will come down to other browsers also implementing the Web Authn API to accept passkeys. But right now, there's very few that have actually done it. Best Buy has already added it, and PayPal also has it enabled. So if you want to read the rest of that article,
like buy your electronics from? Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah. I ran down to Best Buy and grabbed a new battery backup for my rack because I discovered today through an unscheduled test that my battery backup was dead. So good times. Yeah, that's where I like Best Buy. I mean, I basically order everything from Amazon, but when I want something fast or specific, go to Best Buy. All right, another Chrome news item. This one's going to make a lot of people very happy. Google's latest Chrome browser modes can boost battery life and free up memory. And once again, also going to come to Edge because I saw the articles talking about this as well. Essentially, Google has heard our cries and our pain and our suffering, and they are now releasing new modes that allow users to reduce Chrome's memory usage by up to 30% and extend battery life when a device is running low on power. So that is nice. This kind of, to me, feels like if anybody here remembers the Great Suspender, the extension that was great and wonderful and something we all swore by for a very, very long time until the creator sold out, which more power to you, dude. Go for it. And the company that bought it turned it into all kinds of bad nastiness on the machines. So we all very quickly dumped it and ran for the hills and haven't been able to have as many tabs open on our machines without making them cry from the pressure ever since. And so what they're doing here is something a little bit similar. Memory saver mode frees up memory from tabs that aren't currently in use. Sound familiar? You can also mark important websites as exempt from memory saver to keep them operating at max performance. Once again, sound familiar? So very happy to see that coming because that's how I operate. I like to keep a bunch of tabs open and things I'm working on. I do hope that they integrate some of the more awesome features from what we had on the Great Suspender, such as saving forms would partially fill that information to make sure that that information doesn't disappear, or making sure that we can bring them back after, which I imagine we can because they're tabs and you can restore when you reboot. And also some of the more interesting ones, such as being able to export and or sync a list across browsers for somebody like me who uses several different computers and devices. I would love to be able to just easily jump in and out of those. And one of the things that I always requested but was never something that actually happened, and I'm going to throw this into the ether because maybe somebody listening will build this into a browser eventually, syncable tabs. And I don't mean showing me that they're open. I mean open them and close them based on what device so if I'm working on my MacBook Pro and I go and I grab my Chromebook, when I open my Chromebook, it should close whatever was open before and open all of the things that are open on my MacBook, and then the opposite direction when I get back to working on my MacBook. And I've thrown this out there a bunch of times throughout the past, and so far I haven't seen it. So if anybody has, and there have been some editions or some renditions of this, but nobody's really done it to the point where it actually works properly, and I imagine some of that has to do with some of the device restrictions and some of the OS restrictions, but eventually it will be done. So you heard it here first. It's my idea. You can have it. I'm giving it to the world. Go build it. Onward before Steve's battery dies. All right. A headline that I should have read many, many years ago. Google is bringing together its Waze and Maps teams as it pushes to reduce overlap. So we've been talking about the fact that Google is working on 10 or 20 or I don't know what percentage optimization to make everybody work together better, faster with less people, which is very, very similar to what's happening across the entire industry right now. Lots of companies are hurting and are trying to scale back. And as we said at the top of the episode here, Waze has 500 employees, and as I understand it, they were designed to be a separate app. They were purchased as a separate app at an independent company and kept that way, and mostly relatively independent. And I quote here with former CEO Noam Barden writing that Google was true to their promise and gave us this autonomy. He wrote that after he left in 2021, and you know what? That may have been a good idea back then, but it really there should have been a lot more meshing going forward. You know, there's a lot of people that are like, oh, this is a better app, that's a better app, but there should have been a lot more traffic data, updates data, the reporting data that should have been popping up automatically in Google Maps in the Google magical kind of, it just happens behind the scenes because Google has access to an unbelievable amount of information, whereas Waze was what was prompting a lot of that and what was providing a lot of that, where people would have that gamified for those who aren't as familiar with how Waze works, there's icons. You can collect candy for, driving certain distances, or you get rewards for reporting things like police sightings or accidents or whatever. I used to use it a ton, in the early days. It's all I used before Google Maps became really usable. But ever since I've been using iOS CarPlay, I've only used Google Maps because I just felt that it worked better. I've been told that Waze has since caught up. I've actually found that Apple Maps works extremely well now that their mapping system is also catching up here. But I just feel like Google had such a head start in the technology of Google Maps, and then they bought the only massive major competitor, which nowadays would never go off, would never get approved, probably, and they squandered the lead. It's like Apple with the virtual assistants. They bought Nuance or whatever it was, Nuance, I think, and they were the first ones, and everyone was like, "Holy crap, this is insane!" And then they just did nothing. Not that Google did nothing, but I just feel that with the opportunity that they had here, with so much incredible brain trust when it comes to mapping the world, they could have done a lot more than they already did. Not that they didn't do already a tremendous amount, but it could have been that much of an even better experience. So I'm hoping that those teams mesh well. Thankfully, I'm not seeing that there's a whole lot of layoffs happening here. Hopefully those team members get absorbed, and Google Earth and Google Maps and Street View and all of those other brands and products, as well as the Waze side, continues to develop and evolve. I just saw the Waze